So, hello, hi, welcome to this channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ninai. I am a dancer, photographer, just plenty things, an all-round creative, but that is not what the purpose of this channel is going to be. I'm someone who has a lot of thoughts. I think a lot. I think about everything. I think about anything. And I've always wanted to have like an outlet to express all my thoughts, but I just never had like the space to, and also really didn't think that people cared what I had to say, to be honest. Like I'd have these really interesting conversations with my friends, with family members recently actually, and like, you know, they'd be like really productive conversations, and we'd all walk away, you know, with like having our minds change, just having ourselves change just a bit. And I just never really thought there was a space for me to do something like that. Obviously, I knew there were podcasts, I knew YouTube existed, I knew TikTok existed, but I also really didn't think that anybody really cared what I had to say outside my friends and family. But, you know, I really, like it's going to be like a couple of days now since I announced this entire ordeal, and already like I have like 100 followers on the new TikTok, 3,000 views on the first video, and 100 subscribers. So it's like really shocking. It might not seem like a lot, you know, some of the other content creator girlies are pulling numbers, but like, I mean, it definitely means a lot to me, and it just gives me an indication that people really do care what I have to say. You know, I feel like now is the time, and I feel like I'm feeling confident enough now where I feel like, you know, I can take up space and I can do something and I have something to say. So yeah, so episode 1. A topic that has really interested me recently is a topic of honesty. As I get older, I see the value in honesty more and more each and every single day. And it's something that was really shocking to me, like when I made the decision to start being more honest. The more honest I am, the more radically honest I am, the better things are for me. And it doesn't mean that like honesty is easy. It can be very difficult, but like it just always pays off in the long run. And it doesn't also necessarily mean that like it will always feel good, but like that discomfort only lasts for a short period. A week or a couple of months will pass by and you'll be grateful that you stuck with the truth. On that concept of honesty, I've come to realize how dishonesty, or specifically lying, really affects our lives. And it might seem like a really minuscule thing. Everyone tells a little white lie like every now and again. But I feel like the Black diaspora and queer people have a very interesting relationship with lying. And, you know, I can't speak to, you know, my white or non-queer counterparts, but I've just thought about it, and I will get to sharing my thoughts on it, but I guess I'm just opening with the fact that I truly do feel like the Black diaspora and queer people have a very interesting relationship with lying. Queer people have such a layered experience with lying because first things first, obviously lying to other people. Somebody asks you if you're gay and you have to say no. And you don't only have to say no, but you have to say no with conviction. You have to convince the other person that you are not gay, despite your little flamboyant tendencies or masculine tendencies or whatever it is about you that is out of the norm or noticeably different. You have to deny it with every fiber of your being. And so that is, I guess, like a level 1 of queer people's like relationship with lying to other people about who you are, which is insane to think about, because like in a perfect world you wouldn't want to be persecuted simply for who you are. Like, and I'm never going to get into the whole semantics as to is being gay a choice or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. It is unfair that people cannot even move around this world being honest with other people about who they are. And I feel like that goes onto level 2 of queer people's relationship with lying, because not only do you have to lie to other people, but to convincingly lie to other people, you have to lie to yourself, which is another crazy part about queer people's relationship with lying. Because obviously, because of homophobia and patriarchy and all these things, like, queer people are not allowed to be. And so you have to fight yourself to not be queer each and every waking moment of your life, or at least from when you realize you were queer, because for everybody it's different. But from that moment you realize you're queer, that moment you realize you are different, you have to fight yourself every single day, up until the point where maybe you start to accept it. But that doesn't even happen for everyone, which is honestly sad to think about. And so no your queer people's relationship with lying goes past like lying to other people, and then becomes like a battle of self, lying to yourself over and over and over again. And it does crazy things to your mind. I know it did insane things to my mind, where like, and I feel like being queer is what even taught me this, that like, in order to tell someone a convincing lie, you have to lie to yourself first. And so sometimes, like, if I was anticipating getting in trouble, I would lie I would repeat the lie in my head over and over and over and over and over and over again until it was cemented in my mind as truth, or until I could not remember the truth, which is honestly such an insane thing for a young person to learn. Because bear in mind, like, I think I developed this coping mechanism like before I was even 13. And so for me to even like realize that that's how to tell a convincing lie is crazy. But yeah, and so when I found that out, like, that's what I used to do like all the time. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm older, where like I try to remember some things from like my childhood, and I just cannot remember. Like, I remember multiple versions of it because I had told myself different versions of that one event that like I didn't know what the truth was anymore. And I know, yes, when you get older, like, your memory becomes messed up and you can't remember things as well. But for me specifically, like, around events that I know that I probably lied about, like, there's multiple versions of like those same events in my mind, simply because I had to lie about that situation to get myself out of trouble. So it does crazy things to you when you have to like lie to yourself, especially about who you are. And it's especially why gay people who are older are like notoriously bad people, because like they've been carrying an identity crisis that is a very, very difficult one. It's a very, very difficult one, and it ties all back to this idea of having to lie to yourself and queer people's relationship with lying. So, and I feel like, and the interesting thing, and I think this is like what I would call level 3, is even after you've reached the point of acceptance where you're like, okay, you stop lying to yourself and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm queer, I'm a queer person. Like, there becomes that cognitive dissonance of like lying to other people while still trying to remind yourself of the truth, which is such a surreal experience, because you know deep down in your heart who you are, what you want to do, how you want to express yourself. You've accepted your truth, but you're not prepared to share that truth with society because you know how society is. And so the mask you wear towards them is a complete facade. It's a lie. But knowing deep down that it's a lie, like the knowledge that what you're presenting is a lie, it gives you such a horrible feeling inside. And I mean, just can you imagine me a situation in which, like, you have to lie about who you are to protect something, maybe protect your life, your family's life or something. And then deep down, you also know you're queer at the same time. So lying to someone while knowing the truth, while also trying to justify it in your mind by like the panic and fear you're feeling because of your identity. It's such a weird cluster and cocktail of emotions that is honestly very, very difficult to describe, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. And so I feel like that's like the very interesting thing about queer people's relationship with lying. Because not only do you have to lie to other people, then you have to lie to yourself. And then you have to cope with this idea of lying to other people while still trying to keep your truth intact. And so it's crazy. It really is very crazy. I feel like with other groups of people, lying is one of those things that you do to like get out of trouble or like avoid hurting someone's feelings or something like that. That like that's why we lie, right? But for the Black diaspora, for queer people, lying really is like a useful tool to have in your arsenal. It's one of like our earliest defense mechanisms. Parents of the Black diaspora really believe in corporal punishment. So you do something bad, you get punished for it in a very physical and oftentimes violent manner. You get like beaten with a wooden cane or a belt or maybe even a slipper if you do something bad and annoy your parents. And you know, it's very interesting because it doesn't even feel like the reason you are getting hit or beat is necessarily because you did something bad. It's because your parents are mad. When you're getting beaten, it doesn't register in your mind that, oh, the reason you're getting hit or beaten is because you did something bad. At least for me, that's not how it was. It was, you know, my parents or my guardian is angry and so they're beating me. And so to avoid getting beaten, I have to avoid their anger. And the only way to avoid their anger, if not by the truth, is by lying. And so once that cements in your head, then your relationship with lying becomes like a survival tactic. We really downplay how serious it is that we were beaten as kids. That's like the insidious thing, you know, that it happens so often that we really do not realize how it affects us until we grow older and we also start to develop anger issues. We become chronic liars and we don't know why. Like, I know that happened with me. And in fact, the reason why I decided to start becoming more honest was because I realized like the little ways in which I would just like randomly lie. Situations in which lying would not have protected me any way, shape or form, but because I'd become so used to lying, it was just like second nature. New interactions for me really trigger my anxiety. Even when I become accustomed to people, like I still feel like a little bit of anxiety when I'm interacting with like certain individuals, certain groups of people. That like once that anxiety is triggered, the first thing I think to do is to lie to them. We grow up and stuff like that starts to happen to us and we don't know why. We don't know where it's stemming from. It when you think about it, it's literally because like lying became your survival tactic. And I want us to think about it as survival, because being kids, those earliest moments of pain, being beaten by our parents, like I just feel like solidified something in our brains. It cements in your brain as like something serious, which is why I think that I would call lying like a survival tactic. I feel like in the Black diaspora's case specifically, lying really is a survival tactic. And I can only speak to the African experience. I'm sure with like it differs from from Black culture to Black culture, but I feel like with Africans specifically, like it really is like protection from our parents. I'm sure with like African Americans and stuff, like it even goes towards like more systemic things, like, you know, like violence with the police or with like law enforcement, justice system, that like engaging with it, like your first instinct might be to lie because you know the truth will not get you anywhere. So yeah, I feel like, you know, the Black diaspora and queer people have such an interesting relationship with lying. And it might seem like such a minuscule thing, but when you think about it, it really, really does speak to like a greater problem. As a society, we really seem to hail honesty. Like you ask the average person like what like their core values are, most of them will talk about honesty, despite the fact that we might think that that honesty is so important to us and like everyone is engaging with honesty. Under the surface, we are actually really encouraged to be dishonest in very little ways. Like someone asks how you're doing and it's not appropriate to say how you're actually feeling, especially if you're going through like difficulty or hardship. And in an African society, it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to go through hardship. You don't let people know you are struggling, either because you think someone's looking out for your downfall, or you think people are going to pity you, and we just think that pity is the worst thing in the world. Not the difficult situation you're going through, not struggling to feed your kids, not depression, not suicidal thoughts. The worst thing is to have someone pity you. And so because that aspect is also so ingrained in our culture, it encourages us to be dishonest about like how we're feeling. Growing up around a lot of like African women, And like, Ghanaian women specifically, Ghanaian women who were pounding the pavement, who were trying to make a name for themselves, Ghanaian women who were struggling, I'd watch them still keep a bright smile when someone asked them how they were doing. And it's in those moments that you really realize that, yeah, our society is kind of full of shit. Because everybody talks about how honesty is the best thing, honesty is the best policy, but it's a question as simple as how are you requires a lie. You are expected to lie. You are encouraged to lie. Lying is a really pervasive thing in our society. Dishonesty is a really pervasive thing in our society, especially among the Black diaspora and especially among queer people. And so I guess what I would end with saying is, let's encourage more honesty. Let's really hold space for people to be honest. Live honestly, encourage truth, encourage honest conversations, difficult conversations with your friends, with your partners, with your family. If there are any parents watching, parents from the previous generation, or people, millennials, Gen Z, who are becoming parents, like, think about ways in which you can encourage honesty in a healthy manner. If you have kids already and they are older, have this conversation with them. Talk to them about, like, what are you lying to me about, and why do you feel the need to lie about it? Because chances are they're not lying from this malicious place or because they want to deceive you, but it's probably because they feel unsafe. Lying spawns out of unsafety. Is unsafety a word? I don't know. But I feel like lying and dishonesty spawned from a place of feeling unsafe. And so once we create a space that is safe, then we can encourage honesty. And if honesty is such a core value to us like we say it is, we should be holding space for honesty to be expressed safely. So yeah, I guess I would end the video saying, live honestly. So yeah, until the next episode, deuces.